What's going on YouTube? I'm very excited to be making this video. It is the first one that is going to be on this channel, so let's jump into it. My name is Shane and I've been training in natural bodybuilding for over 12 years now, and I'm going to be preparing for my first ever natural classic physique bodybuilding competition. At the moment, the show date that we have settled between my coach and I to choose is going to be October 19th of this year, 2025. And I figured what better time than now to begin documenting the journey of what that looks like, whether it's regarding the training as we prep towards the competition, the diet and the nutrition aspects, as well as the posing and the mentality that comes with preparing for a bodybuilding competition. I figure there's not many natural bodybuilders who are documenting how that goes, and I definitely like to have these videos in the future when I can look back as I do get older and just know kind of where I was at the time and how I felt during this period. If you're into fitness, wellness, your health, nutrition, recovery, all that good stuff, then this is definitely going to be a channel that's going to be beneficial to you. On top of doing this as a hobby, natural bodybuilding, I'm also a full-time physical therapist as well as an athletic therapist. I do personal training on the side, and so I have a lot of great knowledge around nutrition, rehab, training, bodybuilding, etc. that I'd be happy to share with you guys. But without further ado, let's dive into a couple more reasons as to why I want to stay natural, go into classic physique, and what's my main motivation. Now, one of the big driving factors that made me want to document the journey of doing a natural bodybuilding competition is the simple fact that there aren't a lot of natural bodybuilding competitors who, let's be honest, are truthfully natural, who are showing what it's like to actually go through without using any performance-enhancing drugs, which is the main distinction between natural bodybuilding and non-natural bodybuilding, or what the typical mainstream level of bodybuilding is considered. So there's no usage of any external hormones or performance-enhancing drugs. Everything that you're going to do as a natural bodybuilder is going to be based around your nutrition, your training, your sleep and recovery, as well as supplements that you can use, but ones that don't necessarily affect hormone levels. And we can talk about things like creatine and protein powder and branched chain amino acids, things of that nature. The main reason that I decided that natural bodybuilding was going to be important to me was that, really, there are two main reasons. So first and most importantly, I think the long-term effects of using steroids is not something that outweighs the advantages that I would gain from getting to compete, a few times in bodybuilding. I never intended for bodybuilding to be necessarily my life and my career. So if that is the case in your regard, then for sure that's going to be something that you have to do if you're going to try to go to, the highest level of competitive bodybuilding, like the Mr. Olympia stage. But for me, someone who's just passionate about the sport, who's loved the sport since he was a young teenager, I'm definitely in it for the longevity of the sport. So I want to be able to do bodybuilding for as long as I can, into like my 60s and 70s and potentially 80-year-old body and physique. So being sustainable, being healthy about it, and being in it for the long run is definitely something that was important to me. And then the second main reason that I wanted to stay natural was simply that I wanted to see, challenge-wise, how far I could push my own physique based purely on my genetics, the actions that I do, so how much I sleep, what I put in my body for fuel, the workouts and trainings that I do, and then to a small degree for you guys, to be able to show you like, okay, someone who isn't on steroids, someone who just has what they have given to them at birth, how far can you go, and maybe like what's some of the training methods that are actually shown to help naturals. Because what's going to stimulate the most muscle growth in someone who's enhanced versus someone who's natural isn't always the same, but they can be very similar, but they don't always line up. So that's why I decided that I want to go into a natural bodybuilding contest. And the reason that I'm going to go classic, it's definitely a little less emphasis on just overall mass and size, although that is a very important aspect of it. But you are going to be judged on your mass, so how much size you have, the proportions of your muscles relative to the other muscles, and then on how conditioned you are or how low body fat percentage you can achieve by the time you get on stage. Being a natural athlete, you're not necessarily going to be able to put on as crazy amount of mass as the people who are enhanced. So you do have to put way more emphasis on being a very proportioned out athlete as a bodybuilder, and then also being able to make sure that you can hone in on your conditioning as you diet down towards a show. Because as you diet down and you're in a deficit, you're trying to lose as much body fat as you can while losing as little, if any, muscle mass, which is a very fine line when you're working in a caloric deficit. And really, that's the reason that a lot of bodybuilding preps are, 12 weeks long or 16 weeks long, 3 to 4 months. It's because if you don't go very slowly and gradual, you could lose the weight a little faster, but you're going to lose muscle alongside it. It's a big reason why I don't necessarily believe in crash diets or going to like crazy deficits just to lose 5 pounds in a week, but then a week later you put the weight back on because your body rebounds back and it never got used to spending time at that lower body weight. Classic physique also appeals to me overall because when I was getting into bodybuilding, I had just come off watching the movie Pumping Iron with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I remember just being amazed by the physiques that these athletes had in the 70s, and how every single athlete, whether it was Frank Zane, Franco Columbu, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Lou Ferrigno, Serge Nubret, they all had their look that they created and that made them unique. And the emphasis for them wasn't necessarily on just being a mass monster, right? It was about having the proper proportions and the proper ratios throughout different parts of their body. So I always enjoyed that. I always enjoyed that sort of artistry and the proportioning of your physique, and definitely appeals to me more to look like someone who was maybe from the golden era, the 1970s of bodybuilding, rather than just being a total blocky mass monster from what we see today. I still think the bodybuilders of today are amazing, and I like a whole bunch of them, but for what I want to look like in my life, I could definitely say that Bob Paris and Frank Zane are up there with who I gel with more physique-wise. So here we are at the gym. We're at Atlantis in Laval, which is just outside of Montreal in Canada. We're finishing up our pre-workout, and in just a little bit we're going to be hitting a quad-focused leg day, which is going to consist of hack squats, single leg extensions. There's going to be some belted squats in there, and then finally some sissy squats to finish off the quads, which has lately actually been quite a really good finisher for me. Especially if your gym does have the attachment or I wouldn't even call it a machine, but just the tool to do a sissy squat properly and do it nicely. It's really worth it. I would highly suggest. All that to say, we're going to be finishing up the pre-workout here. I probably won't be speaking to you guys or speaking to the camera much during the training. I tend to just be a bit more focused on the workout itself, and I don't want to be rambling on and on at a machine while someone else might be waiting for it. So I'll probably just film the sets. Maybe I'll do a voiceover to talk a bit about what I'm doing at the time. But I will see you guys back in here after the workout. Let's get in there and let's get this going. Okay, so here we are, good old hack squat with the feet close together. My feet close together, probably about, 3-4 inches apart. What a closer foot placement is going to do is allow you to get a little more into knee flexion rather than driving through the hips with a squat type movement. So it will get a bit more of a quad emphasis, less so through the glutes. Trying to get as low as I can with control. That's the most important thing. Before loading up with a bit more of the weight in the front half of my foot, because that'll help me think about extending my knees out into the pad. rather than driving my heels down, which again would emphasize some more glute activation, but not the goal in this case. And you'll see that there's some elastic bands at the top. Those are actually cool because they allow the weight to be a little less heavy at the bottom of the movement, but then gradually increase in resistance as you go up. We are moving on to the single leg extensions. And this one we're going to aim for about 12 repetitions on a leg before drop setting and hitting another 12 to 15 reps. If you haven't tried single leg extensions, I would highly recommend you do give it a shot. You're definitely not going to be able to lift as much weight or nearly as much weight as with two legs. I mean, I think I've done extensions with like 180 or 200 put on the machine, but here I'm busting out maybe like 60 pounds per leg and then dropping to something like 30 or 35 pounds. And a drop set on the leg extensions, for one reason or another, the burn is just crazy and the lactic acid buildup is insane. So if you haven't given this a shot, definitely worth your time. Trust me, you'll feel it the next day, and you don't feel it during the set. I promise you that. I would love if the machine went a little deeper into knee flexion before the rack kind of bottoms out, but it is what it is. Once we get about 3 sets of this done, we're going to be moving on to our third exercise of 4 for quads, and that is going to be the belted squat. So at this point in the workout, my quads are pretty pumped and pretty destroyed, to be honest. Back squats already are rough on the legs, and then kind of burn them out a lot with the leg extensions. So with this belted squat, just trying to have a very controlled eccentric, so downward motion, and then explode up, again, weight into the forefoot, like I'm extending my knees into the ground, not just pushing straight down into the floor. And I kind of tend to lean a little back with this one, since the belt will keep me forward, and I put my hands there just for a little support, but I'm not necessarily pushing myself up using my hands at all. This is great if you have any kind of lower back injury. I've had a few of those in my time in the gym. And you feel absolutely no pressure in your back. You can really just load up the weight and go nuts and only worry about your legs the whole time. So we did 3 sets of 12 repetitions for this one. And to finish off our quad workout, we got this little contraption at Atlantis for doing sissy squats. And just using body weight here, because at this point, quads are pretty toast. You're really just trying to get some blood flow and get some further tissue breakdown through a nice slow eccentric. And this allows me to slowly sit back and down. And when I'm driving my hips up, I'm not just thinking about, okay, let me stand straight up. I'm thinking about driving my hips forward and up at the same time. So that'll allow me to get a little better quad contraction, in my opinion. Not every gym has this, I understand. So, I mean, if you gotta do this body weight with your hand kind of supporting something, it is what it is. But if you do have something similar for this. Also did an ab workout of 2 exercises after this, but didn't film that. So, see you in the car. Okay, so that's it for leg day. Got our post-workout shake. It's 50 grams of carbs with 50 grams of protein. I try to always prioritize carbohydrates for before and after the workout. Again, you want to be able to top up your glycogen stores and the energy reserves you're going to use in your workout. And then as soon as the workout finishes and those are depleted, begin that replenishment process and recovery process as soon as possible. Makes sense. Workout itself was a lot of fun. It's only since I've decided to do a competition that I began separating quads and hamstrings on separate leg days. Kind of like a posterior chain day with glutes, hamstrings, calves, then anterior chain with a quad focused day with a lot of squats and leg pressing, along with training abs on those same days. And so far I've had some pretty good results. I'm very happy with how things are going. So we're gonna get this shake down on the drive home. I'll see you guys there and we'll talk very soon. Okay, so we're back from the gym. Shake has been slammed. Everything that I've been eating throughout the prep, throughout the day, it all gets recorded in my phone on an app called Chronometer. Free to use, actually very easy to implement. What I like about it is that it lets you scan the barcode, which I know it's been around for a little bit while, but it's just really fast to be able to scan the barcode for different foods that you're eating, as well as selecting the different units that you might be measuring by. It's not just in grams, but you could put ounces, you could put bags, you can put literal like amounts of that food. Like if you're having sausages, it might be like, oh, I had like 3 sticks of this thing, rather than just having to always measure out grams. And with today being a Sunday, usually what I would be doing is after I would train, I'd be making sure that I'm just eating my meals throughout the day. Sunday is also a day where I do all of my meal prep for my lunches for the week, as well as prepping some food that I can use for my meals throughout the week in general. So I'll show you guys kind of a little bit of a brief B-roll of that, if you will. And yeah, overall, unless I have other plans, I try to take it easy on a Sunday and just kind of recharge and reset for the week ahead. Anyway, with that said, let's go check out what the meal prep is going to look like, and I'll show you guys what I eat throughout the week so that I can remain as lean as possible without losing strength and maintaining as much muscle, if not building muscle, throughout the week. So here we just finished up meal prep, and we got 5 lunches laid out here. I mixed it up this week with either going ground beef for 200 grams or a pork tenderloin roast, that's 200 grams. Along with those 200 grams, we got 200 grams of rice and a nice handful of broccoli for the healthy fiber, so you can digest well. So that's it for today's video. Wanted to keep it short and sweet for the first one, just to give you guys a bit of an introduction as to who I am and what you can expect from future videos. Next time that I am hanging out with you guys, we might be going into a bit of a different workout, and we might talk a bit more about training or nutrition, whatever the case may be. If there's any questions that you actually have for me, do let me know in the comments. I will try to respond to as many of them as I can, and if I can't, then I will address some of them in the future video. So if you do want to come along for the journey, if you're into natural bodybuilding, fitness, health, and just general wellness, do give me a follow or subscribe to the channel, like the video. It's gonna be much appreciated, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bye.